At least it's not Deebo Samuel. What's up, guys? Happy Friday. Welcome to Quality Control. I am your official, unofficial quality control coach, Grant Cohn, here for the 49ers representing Oakland. Not the A's, though, just Chabot Golf Course and their par 6, the only par 6 west of the Mississippi. Are there par 6s east of the Mississippi? I don't know. Here's the topic of the day. A.J. Brown. We know that the Eagles are open to trading him. He doesn't want to play for that team. He's been freaking miserable, even when they were winning and he was making money and putting up numbers. He was reading books on the sideline about how to stay motivated. I think he wants to leave, pretty clear. And I think the Eagles are open to moving him. They have all this money tied up into two wide receivers. One of them is A.J. Brown, who's older. The other one is Devontae Smith, who's younger. They need to spread that money out somewhere else, considering they have all the money tied up in Jalen Hurts. So don't be surprised if A.J. Brown gets moved, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners want him. Now, is he what they need? I mean, not really. He's 30. He's not really fast anymore. That being said, he's a legit number one wide receiver. And the Niners don't really have a go-to guy in their offense. Forget number one wide receiver. They don't really have a go-to guy in their offense anymore. It's not Kittle. Like, he'll play this year most likely, but he won't be himself this year, maybe ever again, but almost certainly not this year, even if he plays. It's not Christian anymore. If you give him 20 plus touches a game, he's going to get hurt. And even if he doesn't, he's not making you an explosive top-ranked offense. He's got to be a complimentary player if he's still on the team. It's not Ricky. Maybe one day, but he hasn't shown that he can really handle that volume of touches and stay healthy. So the Niners need someone that the whole offense can go through. And A.J. Brown is a possession receiver. He's big. He would fit the system. He would be a good fit with Brock Purdy. And, you know, you'd like a guy who's 25, but it's Kyle Shanahan. He hates 20-year-olds. He wants players in their 30s for whatever reason. I don't know what I mean, he's clearly picking the players on this team. I don't think it's John Lynch. It's been Kyle the whole time. And I don't think he's good at it. I think he's really good at recognizing quickly when a guy isn't good. But I don't think he's good at projecting, guys who will be good, especially guys coming out of college. So what's nice about A.J. Brown is he's been in the league for 7 years. You know exactly who he is. There's no projection. It's like trading for Christian McCaffrey. And all Kyle Shanahan has to do is go from, spamming Christian McCaffrey to spamming A.J. Brown. Oh, A.J., you were unhappy in Philly because they didn't give you the ball enough? Guess what we're going to do here? We're going to throw you the ball 15 times a game. I really could see the Niners doing this. And so what would be the trade? Bleacher Report has them, the proposed trade from Bleacher Report is second-round pick, fifth-round pick, and Brandon Ayuk to the Eagles. I love when people throw Brandon Ayuk in these proposed trades. Like, I don't think so. I don't think anyone's interested in him. I don't think anyone's interested in his contract, even without the guarantees. And does he strike you as someone who's working out these days? If he was, don't you think he might let us know? I'm just saying. So if they were to trade, I think it'd be like a second and another player. Would the Eagles want Mac Jones? I mean, Jalen Hurts. If I were them, I'd be looking for another quarterback right now. Jalen Hurts doesn't seem to want to run anymore. He seems to think he's graduated past that, which means it's time to go before the rest of the league realizes that he's just a bad passer now. What did he run for, like 20 yards a game last year? I mean, Bo Nix was more mobile than this guy. I don't know. It seems like he got paid, got his ring, and wants to show that he's a pocket passer. I mean, maybe they want to go from one Alabama quarterback to another. So a second and Mac Jones for A.J. Brown? Or what about maybe they just want another wide receiver, cheaper, younger. Maybe they trade a second and Ricky Pearsall for A.J. Brown. Could do something like that. The Eagles would do it because they want to get younger and cheaper, and Ricky Pearsall is good when healthy. And, maybe if you move him away from the substation, you just get him away from the Niners training staff, whatever the problem is with the Niners. There is a problem. They don't know what it is. I'll tell you what it's not. They don't know what it is. Maybe just get him away from the Niners. He'll stay healthy. What's intriguing is Mac Jones, though. Are the Eagles in the market for a quarterback? They moved off of Carson Wentz so quickly, and he didn't win a Super Bowl. But this is not a sentimental franchise. And I mean, if you've been watching the Eagles, I'm majorly down on Jalen Hurts because to me, when he played like he played a couple of years ago, where he was willing to run, especially in the playoffs, and he was a threat to scramble or quarterback draws between the tackles. I mean, anytime it was 3rd and 3, that's a Jalen Hurts run play, or at least the threat of it. He was he was elite, which is why he won a Super Bowl and was a Super Bowl MVP and scored a ton of points. And he really leveraged all of his talents in those games. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, a month ago against the Niners, what the hell was that? Brock was more mobile than Jalen Hurts. So I wonder, still though, I would not trade Mac Jones. I would trade Brock Purdy before I trade Mac Jones. I'll be real clear about that. And look, maybe I'm wrong, but Mac Jones, I think he's a really good quarterback, and he's in his 20s, and he's not expensive, and you don't really know what you can do with him. You've seen what you can do with Brock. Some of it's good. You've also seen what Mike McDonald can do against Brock, and it's not for the squeamish. Mike McDonald owns Brock Purdy. Does he own Mac Jones? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe Mac Jones has the perfect style to counteract what Mike McDonald's been showing. So I would not trade Mac Jones in a second for A.J. Brown. I'd trade Ricky Pearsall in a second. Although, again, that's just now you have a full offense full of guys in their 30s. What could go wrong? This is the Kyle Shanahan experience. If you really believe in Kyle Shanahan, you think this is what you want. Old offense. It's not fast. Walks up to the line of scrimmage. Does 18 shifts and motions as if that's cutting edge in 2026. All right, let's get positive. What's the best thing about the Niners roster? I alluded to it a minute ago. To me, it's not a very promising roster. I was driving to the golf course this morning listening to 95.7 The Game. Shout out Joe Shasky. And he had a segment this morning on who has the best roster in the Bay. The Niners, the Giants, or the Warriors. And Shasky said the Giants. I disagree, respectfully. I think the Giants are just so not good. I don't like what they're doing at all. They're the most mediocre team in the Bay Area. The Warriors are old and done. Without Steph Curry, they're the worst team in basketball. And then the Niners, look, their youth movement isn't going so well. Their best players are all aging. But they are better than mediocre, unlike the Giants. And although they don't have a bunch of young players like JSN, I mean, their best young players you could say are like Upton Stout. Man, they got something they have something that no other NFL team has, in all seriousness. 2 good quarterbacks in their 20s. I mean, 2 good young quarterbacks, Mac Jones and Brock Purdy. That's something. You have 2 players at the most important position who are good, really good. One guy's severely underpaid. One guy's most likely a little overpaid, or not yet. You know, if you look at the structure of his contract, he's still reasonable for now. But still, you have 2 quarterbacks. And if you've been watching Rise of the Niners, that was sort of the key to the Niners dynasty in the late 80s, the tension between Joe Montana and Brock and Steve Young. And not just the tension, but the fact that Joe Montana got hurt a lot. Joe Montana missed a lot of games. They wouldn't have been in that position to win those Super Bowls without Steve Young as well. I'm going to talk about that again a bit more in a minute. But the fact that the Niners have 2 quarterbacks makes them so unique. Not that many quarterbacks play all 17 games. It's a long season and guys get hurt. A lot of teams are absolutely screwed when their starting quarterback goes down. And the Niners aren't that team. If they didn't have Mac Jones, they would have missed the playoffs and someone would have gotten fired this year. And what's nice about this situation is they're 2 different quarterbacks. One guy is the scrambler. One guy is the pocket passer. One guy holds it a while and tries to push it 15, 20 yards downfield. One guy wants to get rid of it very quickly and is open to taking the short stuff, but actually has a stronger arm and can push it further down the field than the guy who wants to push it down the field. It's a great setup. And together, if you can think of them like as a package deal, it's not that expensive to have both of them, considering how cheap Mac Jones is. And they have him for one more year. And it'll be interesting to see what happens this year. What if Brock Purdy has another 8 or 9 game season and Mac Jones has another, really good performance in relief? Do the Niners just let Mac Jones walk out the door? Or do they say, you know what? Our franchise quarterback can't stay healthy. We want to stick with Mac. Even though the Niners gave Brock Purdy that extension, they still have the ability to make a decision based on the future, make the right decision about the future. And they don't have to do anything. Another year is going to play out. All you got to do is not trade Mac Jones and see what happens next year. Because what could happen is maybe Brock Purdy takes a step next year, stays healthy, dominates the Seahawks. And then it's like, well, you know what? It's nice to have the backup. It's nice to have the insurance plan, but we don't need him anymore. Brock proved himself. Thanks for everything, Mac Jones. Thanks for motivating Brock to be his best. Or what if Brock continues to get owned by Mike Macdonald? What if Mike Macdonald doesn't own Kyle? He just owns Brock. It's been 4 games in a row that Brock's been awful against Mike Macdonald. What if after next season it's 6 games in a row? And the Niners are like, well, you know what? We have a good team. It's just that our best, our highest paid player at the most important position can't do anything against the one team we got to beat. Yeah. Or maybe Mac Jones gets to face the Seahawks next year and he actually beats them the way he beat the Rams. So it's great that the Niners have these guys because I'm not sure that Brock Purdy is the answer. He's a very good quarterback. If he were making $30 million a year, he'd be the quarterback for this team. But he's not. He's making too much. And the way it looks, it seems to me that teams that are spending this much on quarterbacks ultimately don't win Super Bowls. Even Mahomes isn't making $53 million a year. He makes less. The guys in the 50 range ultimately don't. What Jalen Hurts did, but it was like the first year of his extension and he was still cheap. And I keep going back to like the Russell Wilson contract. The Niners seem very much like that Pete Carroll post-dynasty when they gave all that money to Russell Wilson to let him cook and they found out he couldn't. And they traded him soon enough to still get 2 firsts for him. I mean, they got a lot of picks for Russell Wilson. It's one of the main reasons they're so good right now. They traded Russell Wilson in a timely fashion. They got a bunch of assets and they didn't waste them. So the Niners could do the same thing. It's not that Brock isn't good. It's just that it's hard to build a team better than the Seahawks when your quarterback's more expensive than them and not necessarily better than their quarterback. It's hard. So if they can't do it next year and they take another step back and they feel like, well, you know what? Maybe we could just trade Brock for a couple first-round picks, build through defense, have a good game manager at quarterback and Mac Jones. That's how the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. So the Niners have flexibility. Who knows who their starting quarterback's going to be in a couple of years? And they could trade one of these guys. I mean, they could trade Mac Jones at they could trade Mac Jones at the trade deadline if Brock's playing so well. Or they could trade Brock, which is exciting. I'll take some super chats. David Baker, clean house. Joseph for real says Jed took notes from Trump on how to deflect and redirect. Both are putrid and diffusing guilt. Only one can but refuses to. How do Republican Niners react? A test or bootlick? Challenge the billionaire, please. Yeah, it's interesting. Seems like the Republicans on the Niners aren't really happy with Jed York right now. Jed's just trying to dismiss it, but that only plays with half the population. Isn't that true? Isn't that true? All right, guys. Want to shout out this week's sponsor, AG1. I've been drinking this, eating this, ingesting this regularly for about a month, and I'm feeling way better. My back feels better. I'm sleeping better. My health is better. So I just want to say motivation comes and goes, but habits Habits show up even when you don't feel like it. AG1 is the easiest habit that you can start now to support consistency, even when motivation isn't perfect, especially in February when January motivation dips and winter routines need a reset. AG1 is the opposite of complexity. 20 seconds, 1 scoop, 8 ounces of water, done. Drink it first thing on those cozy winter mornings before coffee, before checking your phone. It will become a micro habit that anchors everything else. Health routines don't need a full rebrand every year. Sometimes it's the small things you do every day, even when everything else is chaos. And the new next gen formula, they've added more vitamins and minerals than ever clinically proven to fill common nutrient gaps. I'm all about those gaps, man. I hate them. Plus, daily energy support powered by superfoods and B vitamins to help you avoid that winter slump, and immune support from antioxidants, probiotics, and functional mushrooms to help you stay at your best this winter. Functional mushrooms. That sounds exciting. AG1 has more than 50,000 verified 5-star reviews and comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. For a limited time only, go to drinkag1.com/Cohn to get a free AG1 flavor sampler and AGZ sampler to try all the flavors, plus free vitamin D3 and K2 and AG1 welcome kit with your first AG1 subscription order. This is a limited time offer only available while supplies last. That's drinkag1.com/Cohn, drinkag1.com/COHN. They're dying to give it away for free. That's how you know it's good stuff. All right. So I feel bad for the Niners. The Niners are expecting, their fans expect them to take a step forward next year. But it seems like they're a 12-5 team. Yeah, they won a playoff game. They benefited from their schedule. They didn't really have to face that many good teams. And the one team they beat in the playoffs was imploding anyway. They were toxic. We knew that. That's why they fired Kevin Patullo. And their quarterback isn't good anymore. So they had some benefits. As Steve Young said, they're kind of a 9 or 10 win team that had some bad breaks in 2024 and won 6 games, had some good breaks in 2025 and won 12 games, but they're essentially a 9 or 10 win team. And you'd say, like, okay, well, maybe they stay healthy next year in 2026. You don't know. Maybe they say, and sure, maybe they do. Sure. But it seems like their schedule isn't giving them any favors. It's now been confirmed that week 1 will be in Australia against the Rams. The Rams are significantly better than the 49ers. Now, hey, maybe something changes. Maybe Stafford retires. Maybe Puka Nacua doesn't play in that game. But you know who probably won't play in that game? George Kittle. I don't even know if Nick Bosa plays in that game week 1. Mykel Williams, he playing that game? Maybe not. So it's likely you're going to start the season 0-1 because it's the Rams. I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just trying to be realistic. I'm actually trying to sympathize with the 49ers right now. I don't think I'd be pissed. Two international games. So the first international game is week 1 in Australia. They're going to be so freaking jet lagged when they get back, and they have to play the next week. So it seems to me that the Rams and the Niners, both of them, are likely to lose week 2, which sucks. It seems to me if you send 2 teams to Australia, they should immediately have a bye week right after. But that's not what the NFL's doing because they don't care. So I'm looking at an 0-2 start for the Niners, most likely. Most likely. Probably not going to beat the Rams week 1. And then you're probably not going to win the next game after playing in Australia. That sucks. What are the odds for teams that start the season 0-2 that they'll make the playoffs? It used to be terrible. Maybe now that it's a longer season, it's not impossible, but you don't want to start the season 0-2. That stinks. And then midway through the year, at some point, they got to go to Mexico City to play another international game. Last time they did that, they spent the whole week beforehand in Colorado Springs to get used to the altitude because Mexico City's like 7,000 feet up. I just want to say I'm super excited to go to Mexico City again. Love that place. I'm going to check out the pyramids this time. And then I can't believe I never thought I was going to go to Australia. Wow. But this is an old team. This is a team that plays next to a substation that might be microwaving all of their collagen and whatever. I don't know. This is a team that finds a way to get to be the most injured team every year. And now they got to go to Australia and play a few days later in America. And then they got to go back to Mexico. You really think this team's staying healthy next year? Pretty rough. The league just handed them an 0-2 start. And that's before they even go to Mexico City. Now, I love the Mexico City trip, and I feel like the home crowd, the crowd for at that Mexico City stadium is way more rambunctious. The rambunctiousness is off the charts there, and they're huge Niner fans. At Levi's, you know, they're kind of watching the game. Can I just say, I was at the Super Bowl, and they sat me in the aux box, which was outside, and it was on the poor people's side. I'm not saying this poor, but you know what I mean? It's like on the not. It's in the side in the sun where they don't protect anyone. It was so hot. It was unbearable. It was 63 degrees with direct sunlight. And I was like, I can't sit here. And everyone like had their little flip cards blocking their face. Can you imagine in September when it's actually hot? The problem isn't it's not the temperature in Santa Clara. It's that side of the stadium literally has a front row seat to the sun setting. And you're just staring. The sun is like right in there's no relief. And if they really cared, they could actually put up some type of an overhang. The only people that have relief from that sun on that side of the field are the people in luxury boxes. I swear to God. It's ridiculous, man. I was like, this is what everyone's been talking. It's unbearable. It's right in my face. Terrible. 0-2 start. I'm looking forward to Mexico City, though. I'm thinking hot air balloon ride to the pyramids and then back. Although, doesn't hot air balloon ride seem like kind of like a final destination, horrifying? Like I just feel like you're gonna die. Something awful is gonna happen. You're gonna see it coming from a mile away. No one can stop it. It's like, oh, but I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna put it on YouTube for my 212 real subscribers. I saw someone else just got to 100,000. Took you long enough. But are those real subscribers? Do 100,000 people really like a guy with no personality? Hard to say. A glorified robot? A disgrace to journalism? I don't think so. I think those are bots. That's my story. Okay. So I was golfing this morning with my friend Kevin. We met up with these two. We got paired up with these two guys. Went to San Leandro High School. And they were talking about the Raiders and Niners. And I wasn't trying to join the conversation. I was trying to focus on golf. But my friend Kevin was like, friend Grant over here covers the Niners for SI. And they were like, oh, really? Well, what do you think of Kyle? Does it piss you off when people try to run Kyle out of town? I was like, actually, I'm kind of the guy that leads the charge on that. They're like, what? What are you talking about? I mean, he's gotten them to the Super Bowl. I'm like, yeah, but he didn't win it. And he's like, well, they had to face Mahomes. So can we talk about that they had to face Mahomes thing? I keep hearing that the Seahawks have a Mickey Mouse ring because they didn't have to face Mahomes. And the Niners, how could you expect the Niners to beat Mahomes? Because really, they have never beaten Mahomes. They faced him in 2018, lost. Faced him in 2019, lost. Faced him in 20. They feel like 0-6 against Mahomes, something like that. How could you expect the Niners to beat such a team? Great. Oh my God. Can I just point out? So the Niners faced Mahomes twice in the Super Bowl. You know who else faced Mahomes twice in the Super Bowl? The Eagles. Freaking Jalen Hurts. And you know what they did? They beat him once. They were 1-1 against Mahomes. The Buccaneers beat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. The only team that can't beat Mahomes is Kyle Shanahan, the Niners. So I don't like that excuse that they would be champions if they hadn't had to face this all-time great. The Eagles are champions, and they destroyed the Chiefs, just like the Niners should have destroyed the Chiefs. That's why the 2023 team season is the most disappointing of all the Niners' disappointing seasons, because you had the best team in the league. You went up against a frumpy Chiefs team without Tyreek Hill and an old Travis Kelce. A Chiefs team that would go on to get the brakes beaten off them in the next Super Bowl by the Eagles. and you lost. That's why I'm down on Kyle. It's not that he had to face the best teams in the world. It's him. It's him. And for a lot of teams, he would be great. Like, a lot of teams are looking for respectability. The Niners were looking for respectability when they hired Kyle Shanahan in 2017. They were a laughing stock. Any team that is a laughing stock would love to have Kyle Shanahan. You'll get respect. You'll be good. You'll be in the mix. But if you actually care about finishing the job, winning a Super Bowl, it's hard to say that he's the right man for the job. And what's so amazing about him, what makes him the most interesting person that I've ever covered, maybe Walsh wasn't like this. This is a Kyle Shanahan thing. He can bring you so far. It seems like he can bring you farther than a lot of coaches can bring you. But he's going to be the reason you don't make it all the way. So he's like a gift and a curse. He's a double-edged sword, whatever cliche you want to use. The Kyle Shanahan experience is really fun until the end. It's really fun. December's great. January is usually pretty good. He has you thinking that he's actually going to do it. He's changed. He's grown. And then he gets you every time. The last game of the year for Kyle Shanahan is usually like way worse than a gut punch. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He lost both of them. He had opportunities to win both of them. George Seifert, who gets no love from the Hall of Fame, from Niner fans, it's like he never existed. A lot of Niner fans 30 years later still wish he had never been the head coach and that it had been Holmgren or Mike Shanahan or something. Okay, fine, maybe. But George Seifert, overrated as he may be, I don't think he's overrated, but as some people, the overrated George Seifert, he went to 2 Super Bowls and he won them. First one 55-10, second one 49-24. Yeah, that's what he did. But he didn't have to face Mahomes. No, he had to face Dallas, and he beat him eventually. Kyle has never beaten Kansas City, and he's not going to beat Seattle again. That's over with. And he knows it. That's why he's on TV, because he knows the end is coming. He has been figured out. Does he have new ideas? Or do NFL defenses? Has he changed at all in the last 5 years, or have NFL defenses? He's in trouble. But you know who's not? Me. Because I got Brunt workwear boots. Here's the thing about Brunt boots. These are work boots. And I am not necessarily what you call a blue-collar worker per se. Although, I got calluses on my hands from playing golf here and there. But, I'm not mixing it up. Shoveling things, breaking things, hammering things. I like the look, though. I want to look like a lumberjack. I grew a beard. I wear a beanie. I have the whole Pacific Northwest vibe going on, even though I'm from Oakland. And to complete the look, I need work boots. You know what I mean? But the problem with work boots is none of them are comfortable because I don't know why. I'm not a worker. I'm a content creator. I sit in my room and I yell at you indirectly through a microphone and a screen. But now I have work boots. And when I walk around with these boots, people say, "Hey, what was it like growing up in Tacoma?" And I tell them, "Sir, I don't know. I've never been to Tacoma, but I appreciate that you thought I was from there because that's the look I'm going for, sir." Brunt was tired of the workwear brands out there cutting corners. You work too freaking hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So they built something better, built boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site, even if your job site is your bedroom. For a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt. Hold on. Let me make sure it's official, because it's not official until, boom, there it is. Top right, Brunt Workwear. You didn't think I was going to put it on the screen, but I did. For a limited time, our listeners get $10 off at Brunt when you use code COHN at checkout. Just head over to bruntworkwear.com, use code COHN, and you're good to go. After you order, ask where you heard about Brunt. Do us a favor and tell them it was from this show, Grant Cohn. Tell them you want to look really, really, loggerish like me. But what you're also going to have to do is grow a beard, a really nice beard. What do you think? Beard and work boot. I think that's the name of a podcast. Thank you, Brunt. $10 off, too. I'm trying to hook you up so we all can look the same. All right, let's talk NFL in general. I think it's interesting. I asked Tom Walsh about this. I have my own theories, so here they are. Why defenses have the upper hand on offenses in the NFL right now? Since I've been in high school, the NFL has been trying to make their league an offensive game. I mean, they change all the rules, and it seems like every 5 years, defenses catch back up. And now, for the last 3 years, the teams that have won Super Bowls have had elite defenses, not necessarily elite offenses. It's the team with the best defense and a functional offense that's winning. So why? 5 years ago, it wasn't like this. 5 years ago, everyone wanted a Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay knockoff disciple. Now, those guys are good, but not good enough against the best, like Mike McDonald or DeMeco Ryans. So what exactly happened? I think there's a few things. One, defense has evolved. I think, let's start with offenses. Offenses really haven't evolved very much. In fact, over the last 5 to 10 years, there's been a drastic homogenization. That's a big word. Homogenization of scheme, offensive scheme in the NFL. Half the teams run this Shanahan, McVay, Kubiak, Stefanski, LaFleur, McDaniel. I mean, half the teams run this. Now Harbaugh's running it. It is the most, because it's solid. It's a solid system. It's good. It's built about it's balanced. It's committed to the run. It marries well with play action. It seems to be quarterback friendly. And it creates explosive plays. Who wouldn't want those things? And it's the NFL. It's not spread. It's not zone read. It's under center. It is the NFL. And it's good. It's good. It's a solid B+. It's a lot better than whatever the hell Cliff Kingsbury was trying to. It's better than what hell Chip Kelly had. So a lot of teams want it. And it's kind of stale now. Kind of like when everyone was running the West Coast offense in the 90s, and it was kind of stale after a while. Seems like defensive schemes are not homogenized. What the hell is Mike McDonald running? Who else is running that? Seems like you have guys running very specific things on defense that are tailored to stopping this homogenized offensive scheme that everyone freaking runs. So there's that. Two, this scheme is all about, it's kind of gimmicky. It's run first, but the run game is zone. It's zone blocking. It's not a power running scheme. So you don't really have to load the box to stop it. If you have a good 5-man front, set the edges, and have some strong defensive tackles, you can just overpower them. You can overpower this offense right at the point of attack. And then on the back end, defenses have figured out you got to play split safeties. You can't let Shanahan, McVay, and their disciples get the long throws down the field. It's what they're setting you up for. It's what they want to do. You have to make those guys work their way down the field slowly because they don't have the patience for it. They don't have the scheme for it. The Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur, McDaniel offense is not surgical. It's explosive. So they took away the explosives. It's been going on for 5 years. And when I was a kid, not even when I was a kid, when I was in my 20s, there were so many quarterbacks who could destroy you if you stayed in 2 high shells all day. You're daring me to execute 11 play drives? I can do that all day. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers. That's just 5 off the top of my head. Prime Aaron Rodgers, that's 6. All day. Now, how many quarterbacks can really surgically dice you up multiple times a game? Not Brock. Stafford? I mean, can Mahomes even do it? Mahomes has been struggling with that. One or two? I mean, Josh Allen, he needs to run a lot to get it done. So there's defenses are sort of forcing quarterbacks to play the way they don't play anymore. That's why I think you saw Phillip Rivers had success. It's like, oh, you need me to like figure things out pre-snap and then take what the defense is giving me? I can do that. And that's why I'm high on Mac Jones. Is that not how he plays? Is his play style not perfectly tailored to what defenses are sort of forcing offenses to do? But I digress. There's one more thing, too. I think quarterback salaries are a big part of this. Quarterbacks aren't as good as they were 10, 15 years ago. The scheme has been figured out, and the guys are grossly overpaid. Grossly overpaid. So if you have a quote unquote franchise quarterback, elite quarterback, you're going to pay him as such. You're going to build through your offense because you got to give him weapons and you got to give him an offensive line. And you're going to have a terrible defense. You're going to have a half a team, or you'll give him a defense and you won't give him any weapons. You'll have a half a team. And then you have teams like Seattle that aren't paying for a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, and they don't have any weaknesses on their team. They don't have to make any concessions. It's almost like building through offense is a fool's errand in 2026 because that means spending a lot of money on your quarterback. And once you do that, you're the Chiefs. You're the Bills. You're the Bengals. You're the Ravens. Once these quarterback contracts come back to earth, maybe it'll become more of an offensive league. Or maybe we're waiting for the next generation of offensive gurus because it seems like the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay tree has taken offensive ideology as far as they can. Unless, I mean, McVay still seems to be evolving. The 3 tight end stuff was pretty cool. Kyle, is he evolving? Still got the fullback on the field. He still gives the ball to his running back way too much. The one idea he had the last 3 years was give the ball to Christian McCaffrey as much as possible. Doesn't work anymore. All right, I want to talk about one other thing. The rise of the 49ers. Have you guys been watching the AMC show, The Rise of the 49ers? I'm a little late to it. I've watched the first 3 episodes. I'm midway through the 4th. But I think the most interesting stuff was the first 3. That's the Bill Walsh stuff. 77, really, to 88. And I find this interesting because I was born in 88. And the first season I really remember all the way through was 94. I remember them losing to the Eagles. I remember Steve Young yelling at Seifert. Seifert not acknowledging him. I was in Santa Cruz. My brother had just gotten into college. We were down on the boardwalk. I remember looking up at the TV and seeing 40-8, thinking, what the hell is going on? The Niners, it doesn't happen to the Niners. I remember the whole season, remember them beating. Anyway, good times. What I don't remember is the 80s. So it was wonderful to watch it. I think it's hilarious that the whole thing is produced by Tom Brady and he talks about it. He keeps saying we. Dude, you're a part owner of the Raiders, man. Stop. Anyway, what's interesting to me about this is I didn't understand what happened with the quarterback controversy in 87 and 88. I didn't understand that Bill Walsh traded for Steve Young and was really trying to replace Joe Montana as early as 1987. And he called it a quarterback controversy himself. And he was rotating quarterbacks in the same drive. He was starting Steve Young in games. And the team was like, what? The coaching staff was like, what? So you think like, man, they got rid of Bill Walsh after 10 years? After he won a Super Bowl? How crazy were they? Well, after watching this show, I'm like, Bill Walsh needed to go. Hey, God love you for building all of this. All-time great coach. Maybe the greatest ever. But there's something about that 10-year sell-by date, and he needed to go because it seemed to me could have done 2 things. You trade for Steve Young, great trade. All time, maybe the greatest trade ever, right? And you needed him because Joe was in and out. He had back issues. He was missing games. You either trade for Steve and make him your starting quarterback, but you can't do that because Steve in 87, 88, 89, and 90 was not better than Joe Montana, even though Walsh thought he might be, wanted him to be. So you put you courageously do what no one else in the world would do and move on from Joe and make Steve the starter. Or you tell Steve, hey, man, you're under contract and I don't care how you feel. You're the backup. Wait. And you might be waiting 3 years. But it seemed like Bill tried to take option C, which was like juggle them, play them both. And that's what surprised me. I realized if I was covering this team in the 80s, I would have been really hard on Bill Walsh. I would have said, you know what? They need a new head coach. Because it seemed to me like what happened, they won in 81, they won in 84. They're now legends for life, 2-time Super Bowl champions and a dynasty. But then 85, 86, 87, they have these horrendous, horrifying, embarrassing defeats in the first round of the playoffs where they scored like 3 points. And Bill Walsh, you think of him as being the greatest coach ever. He's just like every other coach, man. It was either going to be on him or on Joe. You lost. You scored 3 points. And it seemed like he wanted to put it on Joe. It was his fault. Well, he couldn't stay healthy or he was this and that. Like maybe we need a quarterback. Maybe this guy's just a product of my system. Maybe we need a guy who transcends the system. Steve can run. Steve can do so much more. But ultimately, the Niners chose Joe over Walsh. And that was the right call because Joe wasn't done. He went on to have a great season in 88 and 90. And then he got hurt, and then it was Steve's time. So Walsh was like 3 or 4 years too early. And like it seemed like the whole team knew it. They were 6-5 in 88 because he was messing around with the quarterback position. Finally, he locked in on Montana. They went on a run. They got to the Super Bowl. They had like 13 points against the Bengals. I mean, not exactly a freaking clinic. Then they have the one famous drive at the end where you saw John Candy and it was great. The next year, they're freaking 14 without Bill Walsh. They're way better. 14-2. Brent Jones has a great year. John Taylor has a great year. But Joe Montana, MVP. Super Bowl, score 55 points. Like, what was all that? Why was it so hard from 85 to 87? You had Jerry Rice. What the hell is going on? I just think it's interesting. Like the narrative is that Bill Walsh is the greatest. He did nothing wrong. No, it was time for him to go. Moving on, switching from him to Seifert at that time was the right call. Maybe they would have been better if they'd switched from him to Holmgren. I don't know. They got to keep both, at least for a few years. So that really surprised me. I would have been calling for Bill Walsh's head in 1988. And so was Eddie. Eddie agreed. Other thing that was interesting about it was when they were talking about those seasons in 85, 86, 87, Keena Turner. Who else was that? They would be like, after we failed in 85, Randy Cross, after we failed in 86. That's how that team thought of not winning the Super Bowl. 85 was a failure. 87 was a failure. Yeah. What happened in 87? Doesn't matter. Didn't win the Super Bowl. That's all you got to know. Failure. It'd be nice if the Niners held themselves to that standard, but I guess you can do that once you've already won 2. Then you actually know what the standard is that you have to hold yourself to. I mean, if you haven't won any and you lose them, I mean, what do you know about a standard? And then the last thing I want to say about the rise of the Niners, and it so annoys me. It's educational, but it does annoy me that like my dad's not in it at all. Ira's not in it at all. And you know who isn't in it at all? George Seifert. How do you not even mention him? Now, they get to him in the 4th episode where they like go quickly through the 90s. Very fast. And it's like, okay, and then Walsh was gone, and then George Seifert was a head coach. It's like, whoa. Who's George Seifert? You haven't told me who George Seifert is. You haven't mentioned him in 3 episodes. He didn't exist. Which pisses me off. I'm sorry. Did the Niners not have a great defense in every freaking Super Bowl that they won? Was he not the coach of the defense? Did he not develop Ronnie Lott? What are we talking about. And that's what kind of annoyed me too about I guess about Bill Walsh's legacy. So much of Bill Walsh's legacy is him taking all the credit for everything. What about Seifert? How does and that's why Seifert's not in the Hall of Fame. Because everyone gives the credit to freaking Walsh. Well, he inherited Walsh's team. What the hell was Walsh doing with it? He was messing it up for half a decade. He finally got out of Joe Montana's way. Joe Montana won a Super Bowl. They let Walsh go, and they were better without him. You didn't even Seifert's still alive. How is he not in the show? You didn't mention him. There should have been a 20-minute chapter about George Seifert from San Francisco. Who is he? How did Walsh discover him? How important he was to the whole operation? Nothing. That makes me feel like, man, it's still propaganda. Bill Walsh has passed away 20 years ago. Can we tell the truth? He's still the greatest. Can we tell the truth? No Seifert in the rise of the 90s? Yeah, sure. And I think one of the reasons Walsh had to go was because he was doing everything. He was the emperor of the team, kind of like Kyle. And then he left, and you had a head coach focusing on being a head coach, and an offensive coordinator focusing on being an offensive coordinator, and a GM focusing on being a GM. And usually that's a better setup than give the whole team to one person. Because with Walsh, it's like, yeah, he's the greatest coach of all time. And when he's on, he's on. But when he's off, the whole team's screwed. When he's off, you score 3 points in a playoff game. With Joe Montana and Jerry Rice on your team. When he's off. But when you have a whole team, Holmgren and Seifert and McKittrick, and it's not all dominated by one guy who needs 100% of the credit, you might even be better. I wasn't expecting to see that when I watched the show. I was expecting to have a further appreciation of Bill Walsh, who I didn't cover, my dad covered and wrote a book about. But he couldn't make up his mind. He didn't have the guts to do what he wanted to do, which was bench Joe permanently and make Steve the starter. That's what he wanted to do, and he didn't have the guts to do it. And he was wrong to want to do it. The guy who ultimately did it was Seifert, and he did it at the right time. Seifert was the guy who went back to Montana full-time, which led to, another Super Bowl and then another NFC Championship game appearance. And then he was the guy who ultimately traded Joe Montana, which is something that clearly Bill wanted to do, was thinking about doing, flirted with doing. I mean, I had Tom Walsh on my show all year. He even told you, he's like, Bill sent cut-ups of Joe to the Raiders. He was trying to trade him to the Raiders. And Tom and Al were watching. They're like, Bill, he's great. He's great. It just doesn't fit they didn't want him. They're like, hey, but is Steve Young available though? Also, Steve Young's like my hero because I met him when I was 7 years old. Doesn't he come across as kind of a diva? Like you get traded to the Niners and you're like, he's very much like, well, what am I going to play? Bill said I was going to play. What am I going to play? Like, hey man, Joe Montana is better than you. Maybe one day he won't be, but like, you know it. Everyone on the team knows it. Bill might not know it, but Joe knows it. Like, it was kind of interesting to see him because he was so rich coming from the USFL. He had this like incredible haircut and he was so well dressed and he just had this little attitude like, wasting my time. It's like, damn, Steve. Yeah, you're one of the 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time, but you're not Joe. Sorry, Steve. So interesting show. I guess I'd recommend it if you're older than me and you lived through it. You probably don't need to watch it, but I didn't know these things. And I cover this team I should probably know the truth about the 80s and about the 80s, really. So go watch it. Tell me what you think. It annoys me that Tom Brady is the guy. He is gotta be the biggest narcissist I've ever seen in the world. Everything is about him. He makes everything about him. I can't stand listening to him do shows because every play it's like, man, this reminds me of this one time with me and Wes Welker in 2011. It's like, no. Tell me about them, not about you. Tell me about them, not about you. All day, every day, Kim says, I think the thought is up for top quarterbacks. Patty, Lamar, Josh, Joe, Matt is build a strong offense and If they get shootouts, we have the guy to do it. What's the point of spending $55 million a year on a quarterback if defense dominates in the NFL? Maybe you should spend that money on defensive tackles, linebackers, safeties, a cornerback, and then just have a quarterback like Sam Darnold or Mac Jones who won't mess it up and manage the game. If they're going to play too high all day and force you to check it down, like, what are you spending? What are you asking that quarterback to do? You won't let him call audibles. You won't let him go hurry up. You're just asking him to pick one of the two plays. Load up on defense and get a cheap quarterback if that's all you're going to do. If you really have Drew Brees, prime Peyton Manning, by all freaking means, but those guys don't exist anymore. Joseph for real says culture is political. Only the greatest leaders have the equanimity of Andy Reid. Hopefully, Steve Young's sass enter Mac like Space Jam. Trading Mac Jones would be such a mistake. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. I never really know what Joseph for real's talking about, but I like him. He's talking about something I respect that. You had a quarterback in Sam Darnold. You didn't even consider him. Have you noticed that when Sam Darnold talks about his turnaround, like he'll credit pretty much everyone except Kyle Shanahan? He'll talk a lot about Brock Purdy. He'll talk a lot about Kevin O'Connell. I don't hear him mention Kyle. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys could fact check me on that one. But I kind of get the feeling that like Sam appreciates his time here, but also feels like Kyle never considered him. Never really gave him a serious consideration as anything more than a backup or a reclamation or like a backup. So he ended up being just as good as your guy for cheaper, more durable, stronger arm, and champion. Don't give Mac Jones away. He's exactly what teams are looking for. The experienced, affordable quarterback. It's Mac Jones. It's not Brock Purdy. Experienced, affordable, good, not overpaid. Sam Darnold's a lot of things, but he's not overpaid. Brock Purdy is overpaid. So he might be better than Sam. But I think it's very important in today's NFL. Can you really win a Super Bowl with a quarterback who's overpaid? I don't think you can. You could point to the Eagles, but again, look at Hurts' cap number that year. It was very low. Then look at it this last year. Look what happened to that team. I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with an overpaid quarterback. That's what I'm talking about. All right, guys. Whoa, hold on. Almost forgot. We got the prize picks. I almost forgot. All right, we're doing NFL season prize picks. How about Dak Prescott? 4,000 yards? No. He was good this year. I feel like he's an on-again, off-again player. Drake May? No. He had an easy schedule. Matthew Stafford? No. You're getting hurt. Sorry. Bijan Robinson, Ashton Jeanty, Derek. Jared Goff? No, definitely not. You're coming back down to earth this year. Josh Allen? Joe Burrow. Nope, getting hurt. Sam Darnold. Oh, he's automatic. Freaking machine. The only guy I like is Sam Darnold. Dak, nope. Drake, nope. Stafford, nope. Goff, nope. Burrow, Sam Darnold. Elite? Possible. Let's flex it. Let's put down $800 to win $20,000. Submitting the lineup. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, we'll put it up. Hey, I'm undeterred. 500 to win 12,500. Boom. Those were my picks. You can make your own. If you download Prize Picks today and use promo code Cohn, COHN, you can play $5 and win and get $50 instantly in lineups when you use promo code COHN. Well, guys, it's been fun. It's a Friday. Nothing's going on. I appreciate you hanging out with me while I talk about nothing. I don't even know what I talked about the last hour. I think I made some points, said some things, some of them. I just want you guys to know that I played great golf today. I had a witness. Played at Monarch, the 9-hole course. Played it twice. Second time around, I had a bad hole, so I kind of stopped keeping score. But the first time, +3. And there was one hole where it's It was the eighth. So about 220. Took my hybrid out, hit the ball into the water, re-teed. So 2 off the tee because it wasn't out of bounds. I could have gone and like taken a drop over there, but I didn't. I wanted to tee it up again. So I could have done 3 at the spot or 2 off the tee. So I took 2 off the tee, smashed it onto the green, 2 putt, par with the first shot in the water. That's just 2 years of playing golf here and there. That's what that is. I'm feeling pretty good with my 7 irons and up or down. Shorter, longer. You can tell I play a lot. I got all the terminology down. Anyway, I know you guys don't care, but I wanted to tell you because it's my show. So thank you very much for watching. Double B Studio says, would you trade a first and Mac Jones for Darnold? No. I think Mac Jones might be better than Darnold. Has more anticipation, more accurate. Not as strong or mobile, but no, I wouldn't do that. I'm a Mac Jones fanatic. It's our show. Okay, that's fair. It's not just mine. We do this together. It's a collaborative experience. All right, guys, it's time for me to go do the things that I do, whatever those may be.